there, Coastal Bend Meteorologist Carly Smith here. We are talking all things tropics in this update. So welcome. Here is a look at our tropical outlook map. So you've heard about our 20% chance of development there in the Gulf of Mexico. That's going to be the southwestern Gulf, and a 30% chance of development as well there into portions of the Atlantic Basin. So essentially what we are seeing here is two tropical waves, and a tropical wave is basically an area of low pressure. We see it as what's known as an inverted low. Typically when low pressures come off the coast of the Pacific and move in, creating storm systems and things like that, these little pockets of low pressure, what they do is they bring us cold fronts. They're called cold core lows. This inverted low, or a tropical low, is a warm core low, and it feeds off of the fuel from the warm ocean water. And so what we are seeing here is right now this 30% chance of possible development right here in the Atlantic. This has some convection going on, which is a sign that it's growing. Additionally, what we see is Saharan dust, though, to the north and also to the west of it. So it is going to be interacting with some Saharan dust, which is a dry layer of air that inhibits tropical development, because what a warm core low wants, what a tropical storm wants, what a hurricane wants, is warm, humid, moist air. And so when there's dry air mixing in, it is not a good sign. It inhibits that development, but we are looking at the Saharan dust making its way into the coastal bend as well. This area with a 20% chance of development, it's got some convection going on. It's a little bit crooked. There's a little bit of shear taking place. We also see a lot of Saharan dust, a fairly thick plume there into the Caribbean Sea, south of the Dominican Republic and Jamaica, and so that is inhibiting this pocket of development. It is going to track into the southwestern Gulf, the Bay of Campeche, with a 20% chance of development there. So that's what we are looking at in terms of our opportunities for development. Here's a breakdown of what you can expect and the timeline. So I've been showing this on First Edition. This is just the clearest representation of what's going on. So we have our two tropical waves highlighted. There's also actually a weak little tropical low that's over the Bay of Campeche right now. You see that little inverted, the wind is going up and over. So that's going to, it just keeps us a little humid, but essentially right now, high pressure off to our west, that is creating sinking air, but also bringing in northerly dry air in the upper levels of our atmosphere, which is why most of the rain today and yesterday and even tomorrow, what little rain is in the forecast, is going to stay near the coast. So not expecting a whole lot in the way of rainfall across the region, but what we are seeing is still some action popping up there in the southwestern Gulf of Mexico, or the Bay of Campeche. So what this storm is going to do, we're going to watch it now. We're going to track it out. So essentially, notice neither of these show a clear sign of growing or strengthening into what looks like a tropical storm or a hurricane. But what we are going to see is a lot of convection showing up, rainfall showing up, some moisture increasing. So essentially what these steering winds, so why we have these like blobs of red highlighted, that's where the high pressure has an influence. And so high pressure influence grows over the United States as we head into this weekend, and as that first tropical wave, the one that's going to move into the Gulf, starts to interact with the Bay of Campeche. Now this is going to travel over a lot of land. It's going to interact with land. Yes, our sea surface temperatures are extra warm, but land creates wind shear and kind of inhibits that tropical development as well. So it doesn't have a great chance of developing, but whatever does develop would be in the Bay of Campeche over the weekend. And look what happens to this high pressure ridge. It only strengthens. So yeah, there is a chance it sneaks up north and impacts portions of South Texas, mostly with just some tropical moisture. But watch what happens into Monday. Boom, that high really strengthens, and that's going to push all the moisture to our south. Any chance of a storm will stay to our south, and that high pressure is just going to keep us nice and hot into next week. Now with the second wave, you see the circle coming up into the Caribbean by Monday. This is when it gets actually a little tricky, is the forecast heading into next week shows a split. It's all going to depend on, so you see that other red blob north of this area. If that red blob strengthens enough and the storm taps into that, it will ride the edge of that high and possibly take a little bit more of a northern turn depending on how fast it goes, but depending on how, so right here Thursday is when it could sneak north, but depending on how strong that high stays connected with what's over us, it could also travel west. So there's kind of two options. It's too far out to really focus in on the details of that second wave. Both, yes, both will be interacting with Saharan dust. So Saharan dust is going to play a big role in the forecast up ahead. We are tracking that dust into the weekend, moving into the coastal bend. Tides over the weekend should be a normal, so we're not expecting coastal flooding by any means. I know someone asked that on a previous post, so that's a good news. Never thought I'd be happy to deal with Saharan dust. Steve says bring the rain. It's not much rain, but yeah, that's all I have for this update. I'm going to just keep it short and sweet unless there's something big and important we need to talk about, and right now the only big and important thing is heat. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching. I'm Meteorologist Carly Smith.